What is up, everybody? Welcome in. It is time for the Overreaction Buffalo post-game show powered by Believe. I am the Big O, Jerry Ostrowski. He is John Fina on site in Seattle, our man Joe Miller, and we're fired up to talk about a huge Bills win today. But before we get going, as always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're close to 2,000. We're creeping closer. Tell your friends, and we appreciate everybody out there supporting Overreaction Buffalo. We thank you so much. And we also thank the Buffalo Bills for a wonderful game today. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm here in Durham. Unfortunate result for the Blue Devils last night. Crazy game. But, man, it was great watching that game, except I was in a Kansas City bar.
Ooh. Only John Fina would end up. Fina.
The place is called the Buffalo Brothers.
We're gonna put you in timeout. Like seriously, bro.
I mean, my buddy tells me, "Yeah, come to this Buffalo bar." Yeah. Anyway, so they weren't too bad. We had plenty of Buffalo people there. You know, it was.
To counter,
it could have been more gooder.
To counter John's unfortunate experience, I had a very fortunate experience. So
yes,
there was an aspect of going into this game. You know, I wasn't light in the conversation with you guys on any of the shows, and I think Jerry and you and I talked just about this team, the Seahawks team. You know, they're again similar to the Titans, but they're not a bad team on paper. You know what I mean? Like they boast some decent players out there, and I kind of prepped myself with the crowd, with the noise, with what the Bills were going to be up against and kind of what we've seen in those type of scenarios and situations. Jerry, you scared the bejesus out of me with your conversation about how this is the defensive coordinator from the Baltimore Ravens. So he's going to do the exact same thing the Ravens did to us. And I'm just like, oh, we're losing this football game. So I kind of went in prepared, and then it was like, oh, this is great. This is really great.
But, obviously Bills win 31-10, huge win, but it's what John and I always talk about with these these conversations, these mundane conversations about running between the tackles and being positive in yardage on first and second down and getting yourself to third and short, because what it does is it keeps a team like Seattle out of those situations where they can use the sim pressure that they use quite a bit. And I talked about it on Thursday. Joe Marino talked about it on Tuesday. That's what they like to do, but they never could get in a spot to where they could really rely on it and put pressure on Josh Allen to have to make decisions up front with the protection, because, as Joe talked about, their answer seems to be offensive lineman. You have 5, maybe the back stays in, maybe he doesn't. Josh, figure it out. And with the way the offense was playing, the way the Buffalo Bills were stifling on defense in a lot of instances, and I was surprised. I'm going to be honest with you. I was surprised just as much as anybody how this game went, but I was so surprised by how the lack of having DK Metcalf just absolutely changed that football team. I don't know how you guys felt, but they just seemed blatantly bland and average without him on the field.
There are times that this Buffalo Bills team does things that drive us as Bills fans, the Mafia, crazy. Times when we've seen them in the past with Josh Allen, with whatever, where we're facing the number 32 rush defense in the league, and they come out and they throw 15 straight passes, right? and I think that to me was this game for the Seahawks. Like, you've got Kenneth Walker III, who's a very, very well-respected running back in this league. I know they're only averaging, I think it's 94 yards per game on the ground, but Kenneth Walker's been injured. But you come out in this game like throwing the ball immediately and into the teeth of the Bills defense, versus realizing and understanding the Bills defensive line is a little bit, they're not all there, right? And then the linebacker situation leaves a lot to be desired from an injury standpoint. To me, you attack the defense on the ground, the Bills defense, and they came out throwing the ball, and the Bills were like, yeah, do that. Like, please do that.
No, I think a big part of it too. I mean, it's, and think about this, and I talked about it on Thursday night in my keys to the game. One of them was pressure. I mean, pressure, Geno Smith, and we didn't really pressure him on a consistent basis. We got to him here and there, but you could see when he was moving in the pocket, he's older. He's not moving very, very well. And so the fact that our defense was so productive without that constant pressure was even more of a bright spot to me. I don't know how you guys feel, but pretty. And then you look at the fact that we don't have Bernard and we've got some other guys beat up. I thought Spector did a great job filling in. And, granted, they didn't really pressure that middle of the field to where it put Spector in a bind at all or Williams in a bind at all. They didn't really have to make a ton of decisions in pass coverage, but it was just a really, really solid performance.
Yeah, for sure. We got our first super chat from Peyton. Our guy Peyton Play is rain or shine. Allen delivers dimes. Stay well, fellas. Peyton, thank you so much for the super chat. And you are right. I mean, Josh Allen has his first interception on the 2024 NFL season. I don't know what it looked like from the broadcast, but he was basically throwing it right at me. It was a poorly thrown football, just as far as that goes. But outside of that, he had the strip sack that got called back on the defensive holding play, right? And then he had the other fumble where, I don't know, he kicked out. It was hard for me to see what happened, but he kicked out. And then I don't know if he kneed the ball out of his hand or if it just slipped out and he kicked it. I don't know if you guys saw that play, but yes, to Peyton's point, like Josh Allen delivered the win in this football game. He played well for sure.
Yeah, that pass, I hear a little bit of a slip and trip by the receiver. I don't recall who it was.
It was Amari Cooper.
It was Cooper.
Yep.
I still feel like with that route and with that type of coverage, you see a lot of balls thrown a couple inches off the ground. You got to make that, only catchable by a receiver. Let it go. He was going to get a pick. It was going to happen at some point. I think the defense just really, turned that around because that didn't lead to any score, right? So that was a nothing, which is great. But I think by and large, Josh's management of the game today was terrific. I didn't appreciate a few of the called runs that they called for him. I didn't really understand why that fit at that moment. A couple of them were right. And then I think maybe Joe got a little greedy or Josh calls his own number. I didn't think they fit the situation at all. But by and large, the way he moved around in the pocket, escaped the pocket, got out to his right. And then when there was nothing there, sent the ball out of bounds. It was really well managed. And I agree with you, Joe. From the beginning of the game, Seattle looked flat even on the broadcast.
Yep.
And I, for some reason, and I get as anxious as the next Bills Mafia fan, I was at complete ease after the first drive of this game. I just felt like, there would have to be something absurdly idiotic and weird to happen for us to lose this game.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest part of that, John, and it's a good observation. I kind of felt the same way, but it wasn't like the Bills dug into their bag of tricks and pulled up all these different run schemes and a whole bunch of elaborate, blocking assignments. I mean, they lined up and ran zone. I mean, they ran a couple of different variations of it, but when you see running backs, huge chunk plays straight down the field, eating up most of the first quarter. I mean, it was this domination without having to really be stressed or without really having to get into, every offensive coordinator has that little square section on his call sheet that says specials or special plays. Don't think they got into those very much. I mean, it was just a systematic ass whip from the start and, really, really fine performance by this Buffalo Bills team.
Do we want to have a conversation about was it last week the Bills finally get up on the Titans and there was a point in the Discord chat where I was like, oh, now they're out here just practicing screenplays like bubble screens and whatnot, and all of a sudden like the Bills are able to execute for the first time in years, not at will, but they're doing a really good job. And maybe you guys can speak to what you saw from a blocking standpoint or what the Bills maybe are doing different, but it just seems like all of a sudden they're able to connect on these bubble screens, these wide receiver screens, and they're going well.
Well, Joe, so much of that is about timing and the defensive leverage on the bubble, right? And I don't know if we tend to call it against the wrong coverage or we just happen to be getting a little bit lucky now. But I'll tell you, every time we defend a screen and execute a screen, I always think of you. And I will forever think of Joe Miller now.
You're welcome.
The screen game is okay to me. I think it's an add-on when you're doing everything else extremely well. And when you're doing everything extremely well, then you can dedicate a little bit more time in practice for the timing of it, for the defending of it, and all the stuff that goes into it, because they might look simple. Maybe the bubbles are a little bit simpler, but some of the middle screens or off tackle screens, timing on that is everything. And the defense has to be in that reactive mode coming up field that you want and it just doesn't always happen. Every time I see a screen, I'm always like, oh, it's going for 20 or minus 20.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of that too, Joe, had to do with the way that the Seattle Seahawks played defense. And when screens they have a chance of being pretty successful against teams that play a lot of zone coverage, especially cover two, i.e. watch how we handle screens. Okay. That's why everybody runs screens against us. With the addition of Amari Cooper and now a downfield threat, you can clear that zone out with that corner. And then you got a guy like Shakir coming into that soft spot outside the tackle, and usually it's either a safety running downhill or you got to try to find the nickel guy or the linebacker coming across. So there's more time now to complete those and get upfield, to where like heavy man teams and things like that, it's hard to make those plays. So we're not really, and the other thing is, Joe, we're not really running true blue, running back screens. It's the wide receiver
Right, the bubble
variety
screen
right now. But I'll be honest with you, if I'm going to run a bubble screen to somebody, I'll take Shakir over anybody right now.
Agreed. And Curtis Samuel has shown some stuff in preseason that the Bills haven't really gotten back to, whether it's due to the turf toe or whatever's going on with him. Obviously, he was out this game due to the pec. And just so everybody knows, I'm not a big fan of the screen game. Like, I could care less if they run it again.
I get you.
It's just a matter of if you're gonna try to throw bubble screens for 4 years and can't get more than a yard on them, stop doing it. Right.
Right.
So
hey, that yard matters, buddy. That yard matters.
It's a 1 yard up the middle when you're going into the gut of the defense to wear them down, which you guys talk about all the time, is a completely different play than 1 yard or -1, like out to the sideline.
Right.
So that's
Jerry.
That's just where
Jerry, Joe took the bait. Joe took the bait.
Yes, he did. He did.
No, Joe. I'm sure Jerry doesn't disagree with you, and nor do I. But it was good to see. And Jerry, you mentioned something in your previous comment. I want to transition us. Is it the presence of Amari Cooper and a, fingers crossed, knock on wood, healthy Khalil Shakir? We took some shots down the field today, and some very good shots.
No, exactly. And I think it is. It has to do with that downfield presence. And like, look at that first completed ball to Knox. That, I guess, I don't know what you would call that route. Is it kind of a flag or an angle route where he runs to that soft spot between, the cover two corner that's probably playing the curl flat, and then the safety's playing the deep half. If you run the receiver out there on a go ball like a Cooper, you hold the safety, you run a guy to the flat, hold the corner, then they hit that soft spot behind it. It's kind of wild. And we talked about it, and we anticipated this. The addition of one player has brought some schemes into this passing game that we have not seen in 5 weeks or since the beginning of the season. I will say this before we move further. The thing that I am a little bit nerved up about, he's played 2 weeks for us, and both times he's had something show up, nagging. The last week it was the hamstring. This time he gets bumped in the shoulder and has a kind of a stinger problem or whatever. So hopefully,
I don't know what we're talking about.
Amari Cooper. So they can put a little bubble wrap on him and keep him safe. So yeah, Cooper. Last week Cooper had the hamstring kind of tweak thing when he stumbled into the end zone, and then this time, I don't know if you saw it. You were at the game, so you didn't see it like we did on the replay. He was kind of running, and I don't even think he got a little bit lazy. He was just kind of pulling a defender with a route, and the guy kind of shoulder checked him, and he went down holding the shoulder, come up, and didn't miss any plays, but still there's that, so hopefully that doesn't keep happening.
It's interesting how the addition of Amari Cooper has changed, even with him not being a focal point of the offense today. And he wasn't really last week either, but he got 4 receptions with a touchdown, 62 or 66 yards, whatever it was. It's just interesting to me, the difference he has made in opening up and taking that pressure off of guys like Keon Coleman, guys like Khalil Shakir. And Khalil Shakir, as the person coming out of his rookie season that was like, I don't know what you guys were so excited about. And I still don't. I mean, he had 10 receptions his rookie year, but all that to say this, he has come on. Like, he is an important, slippery, vital player to this offense. Like, he is, we expected Dalton Kincaid to be Josh Allen's kind of like, warm blanket, like the guy that he's going to go to and trust all the time. And it's clearly Khalil. Whenever Josh needs to make a throw, it's the important throw to be made right now. He's looking at Khalil Shakir every time. And it's just great to see him develop the way that he has, specifically in the last 2 years. But he looks great.
And it's a pretty good look having Amari, Khalil, Keon, and Kincaid. Oh, they all have hard C sound names, hard Ks. I love it, right? So I think we've reached that point where each of those four guys, whether it's Knox or Kincaid, has an opportunity, and we've seen already that our running backs can catch the ball out of the backfield. That's a pretty significant threat, and you marry that up with how well they're grooving on. We ran a lot of weak zone today. We ran some strong zone with a little bit of student body attached, right, Jerry? Yep. And just like I always say, it expands the defensive front, and it gives a guy like Cook to just kind of choose and turn his hips downfield and accelerate. And man, did he ever. It was, I would, other than the officiating, I would say this is the mostest completedest game that we've kind of seen on both sides.
It's true. I'm sorry, Jerry. I wasn't necessarily flagging that I wanted
No, I was trying to figure out what he just said.
Right. I think there's something to be said in this football game as well, specifically about the deep shots. And I feel like the deep shots, there was a comfort to the look of Josh Allen when he was throwing them, the balls that he was sending downfield. But he was also early in the game more than willing to take the easier throw. Over and over again, he took the easy throw, which is something I've been critical of him about, is, like, hey, the easy throw's right there, and I'm going to look past you, I'm going to throw it 35 yards downfield. So it was nice to see Josh just do that. And it's this team, they draw you in, right? And they're in the process of drawing us in. Like they look like they can be unstoppable. Now, level of play to the opponent matters, right? They're playing the Seahawks, they're playing the Titans. They're not playing the Ravens and the Chiefs every week. But yeah, it's.
But you have to win those games, and you have to win them convincingly, confidently, and capably.
Yep. One thing that I'd like to bring up, and I'm sure it's unpopular opinion, I enjoyed Tom Brady. And one of the things that I enjoyed about Brady is he's seen Josh Allen from the beginning to now. And he has the ability to speak about the maturation process of Josh Allen as a quarterback. And I thought he said a lot of insightful things today about what he's doing and how he handled the offense today and, taking easy throws and all that. So I know a lot of people don't like Brady, and he did reference talked about Josh's caboose one time, which was interesting. But
all right,
I think Brady made some really good points today as far as Josh handling things and just, like for instance, when he made that one run up the middle that he forced and he got smashed.
Oh yeah,
like I don't want him running those. He doesn't need to do those. So it's like it was pretty cool. I kind of liked it.
Well, whoever called the Chiefs game did a great job. I really enjoyed hearing that. Didn't match up with what I was seeing, but curiously, there was a point in the game. It was on the Bills' last touchdown. I think it was James Cook, where he scored, and at nearly the same moment, the Chiefs scored. So the entire bar was screaming, whether it was for the Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills. And we had a guy who led the hey, and that was kind of fun too. So. As far as calling the game, I sort of called it in my own head. I made a couple of right guesses, and I made myself feel really good.
That's funny.
You guys want to get into anything else? You want to talk about the one downside of the game today? Which obviously it's funny because we haven't had kind of a melancholy post-game show this year, and this is the first one that we've had. It's like,
well,
it went out and whipped ass, and that was the end.
It was convincing. I mean, as soon as the Bills got the football, I mean, they shut them down 3 and out on the first drive for the Seahawks. And then they come out and they go right down the field. What was it, a 10-minute drive? I mean, they just. If there's something to talk about negative or something we should probably bring up, and as much as the referees are flag happy and very, loving themselves this season, hold after hold after hold. I mean, it was just there was a lot of penalties. The Bills. On that, I think it was on that first drive, or maybe it was their second drive. They hurt themselves a lot. They overcame it, but every time they had a decent play, they'd back themselves up, and then they'd have to have a couple good plays, stay in front of the sticks. They'd back themselves up, and they'd have to have a couple more plays, get in front of the sticks, back themselves up. It was interesting to say the least. Go ahead.
Well, it led me to wonder if, first of all, we got done the first half in about 13 minutes, right? And
Fast half.
between that and the fact that the league loves a passing game over a running game is, like all I could think of was like, and I know it didn't happen, but it was funny in my mind. I was like thinking the league's calling down to the officials like, yo, man, we don't have enough time to get all this advertising in,
That's
bro.
right. Geico's calling us right now.
Right. And the Bills are running the ball too damn good. We want Josh Allen throwing the ball downfield. Let's get some holding calls. Let's lengthen this thing out, man. We can't
funny.
have this,
Do we want to talk about the Seahawks? I understand they've got a new coach, and I understand they're 2-4. I believe 2-4 coming into this game. But there were moments in this game that looked like football follies. Mac Hollins, the guy falls down like to catch the punt, and I don't even know what he was thinking. And Mac Hollins just like jumps over him, and then the snap. Jerry, you played center at the NFL level. This wasn't a snap over the quarterback's head. This dude snapped the ball 18 yards. Like
he was confused. He thought it was a punt.
I don't know what.
I thought we were punting.
He shot it over Geno's head. He shot it over Kenneth Walker III's head. Like he shot that thing. I couldn't believe how far that football went.
There's some technique stuff that happens that causes that. You're when you snap the ball, that where your hip level is, or as Tom Brady say, your ending, right? So your hand can only go so far from where that is. So if you get up and out of your stance and start raising up out of it, now all of a sudden your end point's a lot higher and the trajectory of the ball goes higher. That kind of snap was when it's like 3rd and 1 and you need a first down and you've got like Ted Washington over you, or you've got John Randall on one side and Henry Thomas on the other. Like those are panic snaps. Like, oh my God, I got to do this. And I not only got to block this guy, but I do it with one arm between my legs. Right. We don't have anybody right now that really kind of imposes that kind of fear. So yeah, obviously just a brain fart by their center, but it was, hey man, we'll take it. It was at a great time for us.
There's another rub to that too. It was wet out, right? So he could have been thinking, I don't have a great grip. He probably could have been holding it a little tighter, released it a little late. Maybe, that could have affected it. Joe, on the replay, the punt returner was tripped by his own guy. He didn't slip. It was like a trip slip, if you will. And then, of course, luckily the ball hit him and Mac Hollins ended up with it. So,
which is
Jerry, when you talked to,
when he got stepped on.
When you brought up the down side of the game, I think you were referring to the officiating, or was there another point you wanted to make?
Officiating and penalties. I mean, penalties in general. We still commit too many penalties.
Yeah, we do
at bad times.
We got a few minutes, guys. I mean, we didn't really talk about the defense at all, other than the Seahawks not attacking them where we thought we would attack our defense. But in my estimation, the pass rush wasn't otherworldly. It wasn't bad either. The run defense wasn't, I think it was very good, but I think it was also part and parcel to a function of them being behind so much. But I thought we did really well on the run. The statistics show us doing miraculously better, but it looked good. And I, in agreement with Joe, without DK Metcalf, they're a different team. Yeah, just as we say with Amari Cooper, we have more weapons.
You're right. Yeah, I haven't yet agreed, and I think it was Jerry that said that. But yes, he's definitely not wrong as far as that goes. It's that was the big saving grace, kind of that gave me some good feelings about this game going in, was the fact that DK was not going to play.
Because Seattle played right into our strengths. I mean, we're not a big team. We like to run and rally to the ball. We run very well on defense. We do all those things. We penetrate upfield, and Seattle played right into our hands. And what we do well, because you don't have a guy that's 6'4", 240 pounds, and is just built like a Greek god going downfield, running go balls, catching balls over corners, safeties, everything else. So yeah, obviously huge loss for them, but I'm not mad at it. I know that.
Before we get into the stats, and Jerry, I know you're gonna jump into the stats here in a second. Bucket list experience, right? You guys have probably both played in the stadium. Maybe was the stadium here when you guys played, or was it the old dome?
I played there as an Arizona Cardinal.
Did you? But bucket list, just this city, right? Just the waterfront here, the water, just all the cool stuff. But that stadium was very cool. I will say this from my experience, and there is a but that I'm going to give you. From my experience, the Kansas City Stadium is still louder than this one. Yeah, but there was also 20 or 25,000, 30,000 Bills fans in the stadium as well. So it was loud, but it wasn't what I was expecting deafening. I was expecting, Lawyer Malloy when he came out of the tunnel the first time when the Bills picked him up after the Patriots cut him and we won that game, like when we crushed the Patriots that year, 2001, I think that was. But anyway, but it was if the next time the Bills play in Seattle, anybody that can go needs to go. Just a great experience. It's just a cool stadium. It's a cool scene. Like the stadiums are together, like all the city's tight. Like and it's on the water. It's just awesome.
I do have to ask Joe before we go to the stats of the game and get to our Dude Awards. Who was the John Fina legend of the game for the Seahawks today that raised the 12th man flag? Do you remember?
Lofa Tutupu.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. But before we get the stats real quick, as you know, myself, John Fina, and Joe Miller, we're going on a cruise in March. And we'd like you to join us. So here's a little information about that trip coming up in March. And we hope we see you on the ship.
The inaugural Buffalo Bills fan cruise. You don't want to miss this with the Overreaction Buffalo podcast live in the Royal Theater. Eric Moulds, Jerry Ostrowski, John Fina, Overreaction Buffalo podcast on the world's newest, smoothest, grandest cruise ship, Royal Caribbean's Utopia of the Seas. March 3rd, 2025. 10 restaurants included, 13 bars, and we are including the deluxe drink package. Order any type of cocktail you'd like at any bar, and make sure to order the specialty Buffalo Bills cocktails.
All right, Bills fans, we only have a certain amount of these rooms, so you better get to our website quickly, BuffaloBillsFanCruise.com. On Utopia of the Seas, you don't want to miss this. Meet and greet with the players, VIP events, Bills trivia. It's all right here for you. March 3rd, Utopia of the Seas, BuffaloBillsFanCruise.com.
So myself, John Fina, Joe Miller, Don Beebe, and Eric Moulds will be on that trip. So we hope to see you. But let's get into the stats of this game. Buffalo Bills statistics.
Real quick.
And go ahead.
Real quick before you do that, I was also told to let everybody know, if you're waiting, trying to decide, wondering if you want to go, the final payment for the cruise has to be in December 15th, I believe is the date. So you don't have a whole lot of time to decide to go with us. I know that they are selling pretty quickly. And then there's an aspect of after December 15th, there's no guarantee that you can get a room. And I think the rate might change too, but I'm not totally sure. But December 15th is an important date. Yeah.
Awesome. Bill stats, Josh Allen, 24 of 34, 283 yards. He did have one interception, two passing touchdowns. He was sacked one time. We go to our receivers. Khalil Shakir led the way, 9 receptions, 107 yards. Keon Coleman, 5 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown. Dalton Knox showed up, 2 catches for 50 yards. Dalton Kincaid, 4 catches, 31 yards. And a touchdown. James Cook, 3 receptions for 22 yards, and Amari Cooper, 1 catch for 3 yards, but just his presence changes the game. Rushing, James Cook had his 3rd 100-yard rushing game in his career, 17 rushes, 111 yards, averaged over 6 yards a carry. His longest was 18 yards, and I believe he had 2 touchdowns rushing. Ray Davis came in, 6 carries, 29 yards, just shy of 5 yards a carry. His longest was 11. Josh Allen, 7 for 25. Not a huge rushing game, but did get the big first down when we needed it. And Khalil Shakir, 1 carry for 2 yards in the game. So those are your rushing, receiving, and passing stats. Tyler Bass did have the field goal, and he completed all of his extra points. One thing that I thought was pretty good, and I hope to see more of this, and I wanted to ask you guys about this. Ray Davis, 2 kick returns for 41 yards, averaged over 20 yards a return. I like that. I'd like to see more of that, especially with the new kickoff rule. And I think his style fits it a little bit better than Codrington.
Did they discuss why Codrington wasn't taking kickoff returns for? I guess is my first question, because I didn't realize it was Ray Davis back there. I just assumed it was Codrington.
I think it has to do with the different. I think when you don't have that long time in between and that it's a quicker thing. I think a self-starter like Ray Davis, a guy that can get downhill, is a much better option than a guy like Codrington, who's more of a punt returner. He's an elusive guy. He's a jump around guy and all that. Where I think when you look at the kick returns with this new style of kickoff, the guys that are successful are going.
Yeah, he fielded the one late in the game. To your point about the 20 yards at the 15, the Bills 15, that was great. The other one he took 5 yards deep in the end zone, and it's like, yeah, don't do that. 20 yards there is not good.
I agree with you, Jerry. With the way they stack up the lines on this, they call it dynamic kickoff. I'm still waiting for the dynamic portion of it, but it looks a little bit more like weak zone, right? We're just running zone, heading at one another. You don't have different levels of return guys in case it's a pooch kick or you got to cover the whole field. Everybody's all lined up. So I do like that strategy. Maybe we see more of it. And, I'm still waiting for the dynamic part of it.
But real quick, wanted to add a couple things defensively. Bills only had one sack. Javon Solomon, the rookie, gets a sack. And then also they had one interception, big man interception, Austin Johnson with the pick, which was awesome. You
Bumbling, stumbling.
You got to love a big man interception. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, which I talked about this week, and just how freaking good these two dudes are. Leading tackler of the game, Rasul Douglas, 5 tackles. Yeah. I mean, just a contained player, hammer outside in the run game. Again, extremely blessed with the two corners that we have between him and Benford.
Agreed. Agree.
All right. Well,
this is 100%. I thought John had more than agree, but
this is as melancholy as it gets.
Yeah, we could go along agreeing with each other. I mean, with the salient points and the obvious and awesome things that we saw, we could talk ad nauseum. But it's so much easier just to say, Jerry, you smartly said what I'm thinking.
Dude Awards. Let's go to the Dude Awards. Since I'm running the show today here on the show. We'll go first to Mr. Fina down in Durham, North Carolina. North Crack-a-Lacka. Who's your dude?
Yeah. Hey, my dude of the game award goes to Khalil Shakir, right? 9 catches, 107 yards. It would have been nice to see a TD alongside of that, but we missed him when he was gone. And now that he's back, that guy has a wiggle and a shake to him. Mm. I look at him sometimes and I think, did they just pour like a bucket of grease on him before he went out to the field? Because guys have a hard time with his twitch and his acceleration really latching onto him and making a tackle. He turns a quick little throw of 5 to 7 yards into 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's just so fun to watch. And he adds that dimension to our passing attack through the middle of the field. As Joe mentioned earlier, the bubble screen. I think they're going to just continue to find ways to layer Khalil Shakir with Keon Coleman, with Amari Cooper, and the tight ends hitting the seam. And I think he is integral to this offense. And hell of a game. Dude, you did great.
Yeah.
Joe?
So it's tough because even as I sit here, I'm flip-flopping. I'm doing my best John Kerry impersonation and trying to figure out what I want to pick. I could go defense because there's something to be said for Balin Spector and the job that Dorian Williams did today, keeping the pressure on that offense, that Seahawks offense. I mean, technically they scored 3 points. We gave them 7 in kind of what would be considered garbage time. But I feel like I have to go with. I'm just swayed towards James Cook. Just the patience. And I know that the offensive line is playing out of its mind on some levels as well, but the patience that he showed, the amount of times that he stepped into the fray and just kind of noodled for a couple of seconds behind a couple of guys and then took off. It was and the whole time gaining more yards, right? So he wasn't noodling in the fray 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Well, everybody's getting pushed back to him. Everything was going forward, but this run game looks formidable, and James looked the part, and so did Ray Davis. I mean, they're a great compliment. Ray Davis makes you wonder, like, is James Cook going to be here? I know he'll be here next year. He's got a contract. He's going to be here the year after that because Ray Davis looks good, right? So it's a good problem to have, super good problem to have.
I kind of look at these dude awards as like the dude or the Thanos of this thing is Josh Allen, right? And our dude awards usually don't go to Josh because we already know he is the dude, and we kind of are adding the Infinity Stones into his self. So
Josh is inevitable. Josh is inevitable.
I'm giving this guy his props and his due because I'm liking what I see, and every week he gets more confidence. Every week he makes more plays. Brady talked about him today, and just the trust that Josh Allen has in him, and that's Keon Coleman. 5 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown, doing the things that we were told all about. And you look at his statistics. He's way up there. The guy that everybody wanted to pick in his spot and went crazy about is all the way down in the bottom. I mean, if you want a fly sweep runner, then go ahead and take him. But we don't need a fly sweep runner. We got one of those. We need a guy that can go out and command the football and make plays with guys on top of him. And I thought, just week after week, you see Keon and the way he bodies up corners and people trying to cover him and always has proper position. The touchdown catch was phenomenal. We're going to see more and more of this as the season goes on. So my dude award goes to Keon Coleman. Big time play out of him today.
And I thought for sure he was going to push that defender that he was blocking straight through the back of the sidewall of the stadium. Like,
right. He's so damn strong, man. Like, he's going to get offensive pass interference calls just because when he hits dudes, it's like a yard sale. There's just crap everywhere, right? I mean, he just puts his hands on people and they just fall apart. And he did it earlier in the game. He went to get off a deal. He put 2 hands on the guy and he just fell over. So
yeah, you know what I love about him? People talk about catch radius all the time, right?
Right.
His contested catch ability is super cool. The one-handed one he pulls in. He almost had the other one. It was a pretty good defensive play. But I just love the way he fights for the ball in tiny areas with a guy draped all over him. And great pick, Jerry. Guys, I think he's delivering, right? A little early to tell, but what we see right now, and I think when I was watching the game, in order to build a guy up, in order to get a guy to the level you want him to be, you got to get him the targets, and they're doing it. So, it's one thing to target a guy and he's putting the ball on the carpet or he's running the wrong routes. He looks like he's putting the game together, which is really exciting for us.
Any final thoughts out of you, gentlemen?
Yeah, there's a lot of good guys. Just following up to what John just said, there's a lot of good guys with some pretty scary vision. And I don't know that that's necessarily something that we've had across the offensive board on this team the last several years. You've clearly got Stephon Diggs out there who's elite all world and can set things up. And even after he's got the ball, already has a plan in his mind. But we've had a lot of guys on this football team, whether it be, Zach Moss or some, just guys that once they caught the ball, the play was kind of over. And you've got Khalil Shakir out there now that literally when he catches the ball and turns around, you can see him like doing geometry, right? Who's closest? Where's the nearest? Where can I get skinny? Ray Davis is the same way. James Cook is the same way. Keon Coleman, when he has the ball in his hands, has the ability to lose guys or to unwrap them from him and like find spots to keep going forward. There's just a lot of excitement for me, just kind of seeing the potential around all of that. And obviously we haven't seen the best of Amari Cooper yet either. Like, we don't even know what his presence, like when he starts catching the ball, is really going to mean to this team. So all good stuff.
Any final thoughts?
I don't think so. Just it does feel a little melancholy, not down, but just like, man, the Bills kicked butt today. And, I don't know why we're all, I guess it's better that we're not the guys that scream Super Bowl after every single Bills win, because then when they lose, it makes you look that much sillier. But this was a complete football game. Outside of a couple gaffes on special teams, which, the one Codrington backed up, he was backpedaling 18 yards. John, I think you put in the Discord chat, like, why do you field that? Like, what are you doing? There was a couple small spots. But they played complimentary football. The defense picked up the offense to John's point when Josh threw that interception. And the biggest issue is it didn't hurt him today is probably still the penalties. Like, they've got to clean up penalties. They just the refs are throwing. There was a lot of flags thrown, and there were flags they didn't throw, specifically on the Seahawks. There was about 3 holding penalties, and I'm screaming, that's holding, and they didn't. Like, the ref's looking right at it, and he doesn't throw the flag. But no, it was a great football game. It leaves a lot for positives for this week, which, by the way, we didn't say this, Victory Monday. Happy Victory Monday at the top of the show. But yeah, happy Victory Monday, everybody. But yeah.
All right, so as always, go ahead.
No, go ahead, John. Do you have final thoughts?
I was just saying Happy Victory Monday, and I disagree with you. I don't think we could be any sillier. I think we've hit the silly meter up to the top.
As always, folks, hit that like button, subscribe button. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. And our schedule this week, Off Tackle with John Fina tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday on the beat with Alex Brasky. Is that correct?
I believe so, yep.
Okay, Wednesday we have Hump Day Hotline. Thursday will be the Big O Show. Friday, If These Walls Could Talk, and then we'll come back with another post-game show on Sunday. But I want to leave everybody with this. And Albert Breer put this on Twitter. He said, this is a Bills team that let Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morris, and Stephon Diggs go this offseason. They're up 31-3 in Seattle, about to be 6-2, and the AFC East race is effectively over. Huge display of that program's strength and the value and the quarterback's value too. So let that sink in as we move into next week to get ready for the next week's game.
Love it.
Well, now I'm ready.
All right. So this has been the Overreaction postgame show here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, powered by Believe. I am the Big O, Jerry Ostrowski. He is John Fina. He is our big toe, Joe Miller, live from Seattle. And as always, folks, we appreciate you. Much love, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
I hit the wrong button. Here we go. I was so good, too.